stood at the edge of the council chambers and watched the alien delegates ignore him. 3 years. 3 years of representing humanity in this massive hall, and still they treated him like a child asking adults for attention. The chamber stretched higher than any building on Earth. Hundreds of species gathered here, each one convinced they knew better than the others. They sat in their elevated seats, their scaled bodies gleaming under the artificial lights. They floated in their containment spheres. They clicked and buzzed in their section. All of them had voted on galactic matters for centuries before humans even left their solar system. Adjusted his uniform and stepped forward to the speaking platform. A holographic display showed his request in the queue. Position 47. He had been waiting for 6 hours. Commander Brandon stood beside him, arms crossed. Brandon had fought in the Earth Defense Forces before taking this liaison position. He was not a patient man. "They are doing this on purpose," Brandon said quietly, "making us wait while they debate agricultural subsidies for the 15th time." Nodded but said nothing. Patience had always been his strength. He had learned it in the military, then refined it during his years in diplomatic service, but even his patience had limits. Finally, the queue moved. Its request appeared on the main display. "The human delegation wishes to address the Council regarding missing vessels," the automated system announced. A few delegates turned to look. Most continued their private conversations. High Counselor raised one of his 4 arms. The ancient being had served on the Council longer than humanity had possessed written language. His species considered themselves the architects of galactic civilization. "Ambassador," said, his voice carrying across the chamber, "you may speak." Activated his presentation. An image appeared showing the colony ship Meridian. It was a beautiful vessel designed to carry settlers to New Terra, a planet humanity had been granted permission to colonize. "The Meridian departed from Mars Station 6 weeks ago," began. "It carried 847 civilians, families, children, scientists and farmers ready to build a new home." He paused, letting that number sink in. Some delegates looked at the image, others seemed bored. "The ship never arrived at New Terra. It disappeared without sending a distress signal. Our search teams found nothing, not debris, not bodies, nothing." Ambassador of the Empire leaned forward. His species looked almost reptilian, with silver scales and eyes that reflected light like mirrors. "Space is dangerous," Ambassador said. His tone suggested he was explaining something obvious to someone slow. "Ships are lost all the time. Engine failures, navigation errors. Perhaps your human technology was not adequate for the journey." Several delegates made sounds that had learned to recognize as agreement. "Our technology has successfully transported millions of humans across hundreds of light years," replied, keeping his voice level. "The Meridian was equipped with the latest systems, multiple redundancies. It should have been impossible for it to simply vanish." "Yet it did," said, spreading his clawed hands. "Perhaps humans should focus on improving their vessels before venturing so far from home." Brandon made a sound beside. It was not a pleasant sound. Raised his arm again. "The Council sympathizes with your loss, Ambassador. However, we cannot launch a full investigation every time a Tier 3 species loses a ship. The bureaucratic costs alone would be enormous. We will file a report and mark the incident for review." "Review," felt his calm cracking. 847 people are missing. They deserve more than a report. "And they shall have it," said, "in due time. The Council has many pressing matters. We cannot drop everything for every unfortunate incident. Your request is noted. Next item." The display changed. His time was over just like that. Brandon put a hand on his shoulder, guiding him away from the platform before he said something that could not be taken back. They walked through the corridors in silence. These halls had been built by species that measured time in. Every surface was smooth stone that had existed longer than human civilization. It was meant to make younger species feel small. "This is garbage," Brandon finally said when they reached the human quarters. "They are not even pretending to care." Sat down at his desk and pulled up his personal terminal. "No, they are not." "So what do we do?" "What we have always done," said. "We document everything, we keep pushing. We make noise until they cannot ignore us." But even as he said it, felt something shift inside him. He had played by their rules. He had been patient. He had been respectful, and his people were dying for it. He opened a secure file on his terminal. Over the next hour, he began pulling records, not just about the Meridian, about every human ship movement in the past 3 years. Brandon watched over his shoulder. "What are you looking for?" "A pattern," said. It did not take long to find one. The Meridian was not the first. Discovered reports of 17 human ships that had disappeared in the past 2 years. Not all of them were colony ships. Some were cargo vessels. Others were exploration craft. But all of them had one thing in common. They had all vanished near space. 17 ships, Brandon whispered. That is over 4,000 people. Pulled up the council investigation files for each incident. Every single one had been closed with the same conclusion: lost to space, navigation failure, no evidence of foul play, case closed. "They knew," said. His voice was quiet, but there was something new in it, something cold. "They had to know. 17 ships do not just disappear in the same region by accident." Brandon's jaw tightened. "What do we do with this?" Before could answer, his terminal chimed. A new message. The sender was listed as unknown. The encryption was military grade, far beyond what most civilian systems could produce. Hesitated, then opened it. The message contained a set of coordinates. Nothing else except a single line of text. "They know what happened. They always knew." Stared at the screen. Brandon read the message over his shoulder and swore. "It is a trap," Brandon said. "Maybe," agreed. "Or maybe someone is trying to help us. Someone who can hack our secure systems and knows about council conspiracies. That is either a very good friend or a very dangerous enemy." Saved the coordinates and closed the message. He looked at the files spread across his screen. 17 ships, 4,000 people, and a council that closed investigations without looking. "Get a team together," said. "People you trust completely. I want those coordinates investigated. If we do this and the council finds out, they could expel humanity from the entire alliance. If we do nothing and more ships disappear, we are just as responsible as they are." Stood and looked at Brandon. "I am done playing by their rules. Our people are missing. Dead or taken, I do not know, but I will find out. And if the council is hiding something, then they are going to answer for it." Brandon nodded slowly. "I will have a team ready in 24 hours. After Brandon left, stood alone in his office. He looked out the window at the council. Beautiful towers reached toward the sky. Peaceful gardens stretched between buildings. This was supposed to be the center of galactic civilization, a place where all species worked together. But had learned something today. The beautiful surface hid ugly truths, and those truths had cost humanity thousands of lives. He thought about the families on the Meridian, parents who had saved for years to afford passage to a new world, children excited about seeing new stars, all of them gone. Made a decision then. He would find out what happened to them. And if the council stood in his way, then humanity would finally show these ancient species what happened when you pushed humans too far. The game was about to change. The council just did not know it yet. Brandon had assembled teams before: combat teams, rescue teams, security details, but this team had to be different. This team had to operate in complete secrecy, investigating coordinates from an unknown source while their own government technically served on the council. He chose 3 people. Lieutenant Torres was the best pilot he had ever seen. She could fly anything from a combat fighter to a garbage hauler, and she never asked questions she did not need answers to. She sat across from Brandon in the briefing room, her dark eyes studying the coordinates on the screen. Dr. Price was next. The had worked with dozens of alien species since humanity joined the galactic community. He understood their cultures, their biology, their ways of thinking. More importantly, he had a personal reason to care. His sister had been on the Meridian with her husband and 2 children. Carter completed the team. Intelligence analysts were supposed to stay behind desks, but had spent 5 years in field operations before moving to analysis. She could crack encryption, forge documents, and talk her way past security systems in 6 different languages. "This is what we have," Brandon said, pulling up a star map. "These coordinates lead to a dead moon in unclaimed space, just outside territory." "Why would anyone put anything on a dead moon?" asked. "That is what we need to find out." Leaned forward. "If this is connected to the Meridian, if there is any chance and her family are alive somewhere, I need to be there." "I know," Brandon said quietly. "That is why you are on this team, but you need to prepare yourself. If we find something, it might not be what we hope for." His jaw tightened, but he nodded. "When do we leave?" asked. 6 hours. We are taking a civilian transport, no military markings. As far as anyone knows, we are merchants heading to the outer systems." They left the council in a ship that looked old and battered on the outside. Inside, it had been modified with military-grade sensors and weapons systems. Flew them through the standard trade routes, then slipped into the uncharted regions where no one would notice one more civilian craft. The journey took 4 days. 4 days of tension and silence. Spent most of the time reviewing data about the Meridian. Worked on cracking the encryption on the mysterious message. Kept them moving, constantly checking to make sure no one followed. Brandon watched the stars and thought about what they might find. The moon appeared on their sensors before they saw it with their eyes. It was small and dark, barely holding onto a thin atmosphere. Scans showed old mining structures on the surface, abandoned decades ago, according to the records. "I am picking up power signatures," said as they approached. "Faint but active. Someone has been here recently." They landed near the largest structure. It was a facility carved into the moon's surface, designed to protect miners from radiation and meteor impacts. The airlock still functioned, cycling them inside with a hiss of stale air. Emergency lighting flickered on as they entered. The facility was bigger than it looked from outside. Tunnels stretched in multiple directions, leading deeper into the moon. "Split up or stay together?" asked. "Together," Brandon said. "We do not know what we might find." They moved through the corridors carefully. The facility showed signs of recent use, footprints in the dust, equipment that still had power, a meal packet that could not be more than a few weeks old. Stopped at a computer terminal. "I can access the system from here. Give me a few minutes." While she worked, explored the nearby rooms. Brandon heard him make a sound, not quite a cry but close. Brandon found standing in what looked like a temporary living space. Sleeping mats lined the floor, personal items scattered around. A child's toy sat in the corner, a stuffed animal that had seen better days. "People were held here," said. His voice shook. "Look at this. These are human clothes, human food containers. Someone kept people here." Appeared in the doorway. "I found security footage. You need to see this." They gathered around the monitor in what had been the facility's control room, had pulled up the archived video files. The dates went back 6 months. Brandon hit play. The footage showed a human ship, not the Meridian but another vessel. It drifted in space, engines dark. Then warships appeared, not military vessels but something worse, raiders. They watched as they boarded the human ship, watched as they forced people into cargo holds, families, children, elderly. The humans fought back, but they were outnumbered and gripped the edge of the console so hard his knuckles turned white. The footage continued. They brought their captives to this moon, sorted them, cataloged them. The audio was poor, but Brandon could hear enough. They were talking about prices, about buyers, about which species would pay the most for human slaves. "Keep going," Brandon said quietly. Pulled up more files, different ships, different dates. The pattern was clear. They had been raiding human vessels for over 2 years, taking people, selling them. Then found something that made everyone in the room go cold. "These are council files," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Encrypted, but I cracked the codes. Look at the dates. The council received reports about missing human ships 18 months ago. They investigated. They found evidence of involvement." "What did they do?" asked. Pulled up the meeting minutes. They classified it, marked it as sensitive information, decided that taking action against them would damage trade agreements and destabilize diplomatic relations. They voted to keep it secret. Brandon read the document on the screen. 7 council species had voted to bury the information. 7 species that valued trade profits more than human lives. "They knew," said. "The whole time we were begging them to investigate, they already knew what happened. They just did not care." Pulled up more files. It gets worse. Some of the people taken were sold to council research facilities, medical experiments. According to these records, at least 3 council species purchased humans for testing. The room went silent, except for the hum of the computers. Brandon felt something he had not felt in years, a cold, focused rage, the kind that made soldiers do extraordinary things, the kind that changed the course of battles. "Copy everything," he said. "Every file, every video, every piece of evidence." "Already on it," replied. Moved to another terminal. His hands shook as he searched through the records. There has to be a list, a manifest of who they took. He found it, hundreds of names, sorted by ship, by date, by sale price. Scrolled through the list. Brandon watched his face change as he found what he was looking for. Price, age 32, purchased by Research Consortium, status, alive. His voice broke. Her kids, oh God, her kids are listed separately, different buyers. Put a hand on his shoulder. "We will find them, all of them." "Incoming ships," said suddenly. "Patrol craft, 3 of them. They are headed right for us." "How did they know we were here?" demanded. The terminal realized. "When I accessed the council files, it must have sent an alert. We need to leave, now." They ran through the corridors, carrying everything they could. The data, the physical evidence, anything that would prove what they found. The facility shook as weapons fire hit the surface. They were not waiting to see who was inside. They reached the ship and had the engines hot before the others were even seated. She pulled them up through the thin atmosphere as weapons lit up the darkness behind them. "They are following," she said. 3 ships, combat configuration." Brandon moved to the weapons console. Their civilian transport had military systems, but not enough to fight 3 warships. "Get us into the asteroid field," he ordered. "We need cover." Dove toward a nearby belt of broken rocks. They followed, firing as they came. One shot clipped their shields, making the whole ship shudder. "Shields at 70%, called out. Flew like she was born in space, threading through asteroids, using them for cover, making the work for every shot. But there were 3 of them and they were faster. "I have an idea," said. She pulled up the navigation system. "There is a registered trade route 15 minutes from here. If we can make it there, they cannot attack us without witnesses." 15 minutes is a long time with 3 ships shooting at us, said, but she changed course. The next 15 minutes felt like hours. They stayed close, their weapons chewing into the shields. Warning alarms filled the cabin. Held onto his seat and watched the shield readings drop. 60%, 50%, 40%. Then saw the trade route. A massive cargo hauler appeared on the sensors, then another. The busy shipping lane was full of witnesses. They broke off. They could not attack openly without causing an incident, but Brandon saw one of them match their course, following at a distance. "They are not letting us go," said. "They are tracking us." "Then we lead them somewhere we want them to go," Brandon replied. He opened a secure channel too. "Ambassador, this is Commander. You need to hear what we found, all of it. And sir, we need to act fast. The Council is not going to give us justice. They are part of the problem." His voice came through the speaker. "Come home, Commander. We are done asking permission." As they flew toward Council space with evidence that would change everything, looked at the list of names still displayed on his terminal. His sister was alive. Somewhere in this galaxy, she was being held by aliens who saw humans as property. Brandon watched the ship still following them and made a promise to himself. Every single human on that list would come home, and the Council that allowed this to happen would answer for it. The game was no longer about diplomacy. It was about justice. And humanity was about to show the galaxy what happened when you made humans angry enough to stop playing nice. Did not sleep the night before the Council session. He spent the hours reviewing every piece of evidence Brandon had brought back. The videos, the documents, the names. 4,317 humans, missing, sold, experimented on, and the Council had known for 18 months. At dawn, he made his decision. He was done being patient, done being diplomatic, done pretending that playing by their rules would lead to justice. He called an emergency council session. According to galactic law, any member species could demand such a meeting if they declared a crisis threatening their survival. Invoked that right. The council had to respond. High Counselor was clearly annoyed when the session began. "Ambassador, emergency sessions are reserved for genuine threats to species survival, not for repeated complaints about missing vessels." "You are right," said calmly. "This is about survival, the survival of trust in this council, the survival of the belief that justice exists in this galaxy, and perhaps the survival of this council itself." That got their attention. Murmurs spread through the chamber. "That sounds like a threat," said from his elevated seat. "No," replied, "that is a promise." He activated the presentation system, but this time he did something different. He connected to the public broadcast network. Every screen in council space would show what he was about to present. Billions of beings across hundreds of worlds would watch. "What are you doing?" demanded. "Emergency sessions are not public broadcasts." "This one is," said, "because what I am about to show you is something every citizen in this galaxy deserves to see." The security team moved toward, but he had already locked the system. Had done good work. The broadcast could not be stopped without shutting down the entire council network. Played the first video. A human colony ship being boarded by raiders. Families dragged from their homes. Children crying. The audio was clear enough to hear their screams. The council chamber went silent. He played another video. Human captives being sorted like cargo, prices being discussed. One woman begging to be kept with her daughter, a raider hitting her for speaking. "Stood up, this is fake. Propaganda designed to damage the empire." "Is it?" Pulled up the files had found. Council investigation reports, meeting minutes, communication logs. Then explain these. Explain why the council investigated 18 months ago and found evidence of raiding. Explain why you voted to classify that information. Explain why trade agreements were considered more important than human lives. The documents appeared on every screen. Council members who had seemed bored minutes ago now looked panicked. The galaxy was watching them being exposed. 7 species on this council voted to bury the truth, continued. His voice was level, but everyone could hear the anger beneath it. You knew humans were being taken, sold as slaves, used in experiments, and you did nothing because it was politically inconvenient. tried to regain control. These documents are classified for good reason. Releasing them damages ongoing investigations and threatens diplomatic stability. There were no ongoing investigations, shot back. You closed every case, marked them as navigation failures and moved on. You lied to my people while they begged you for help. Brandon appeared on the screen next to. He held up a data pad. This is a list of 4,317 humans who were taken, their names, their ages, where they were sold. Some of them are in research facilities run by council species. Some are in private collections. Some are listed as deceased from experimentation. Stepped forward, his face was tight with emotion. My sister is on that list. Price, age 32. Sold to a research consortium for medical testing. Her children, ages 5 and 7, were sold separately, to different buyers. The impact of his words rippled through the chamber. This was not abstract anymore. This was a man looking for his family. Pulled up the final piece of evidence. Financial records showing payments from trade guilds to council members. Millions of credits changing hands. Bribes masked as consultation fees and diplomatic gifts. You did not just ignore what was happening, said. Some of you profited from it. The chamber erupted. Some species shouted denials. Others demanded explanations. A few sat in stunned silence. Across the galaxy, billions watched the council fall apart on live broadcast. The carefully maintained image of galactic unity shattered in real time. This session is over, declared, trying to shut down the broadcast. No, said, this session ends when I say it ends. He had never spoken to the council like this before. 3 years of respect and deference were gone. He was done pretending they deserved either. Humanity demands the following, said. First, immediate return of all human captives. Second, full council status with equal voting rights. Third, prosecution of every being involved in this conspiracy. You have 30 days. 30 days, laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Or what? What will your little Tier 3 species do? We will act independently, replied, and you will not like how we act. The broadcast ended, had said what he needed to say. Now the galaxy could react. They did not have to wait long. Within hours, human colonies across known space erupted in protests. Millions of people gathered outside council facilities. The message was clear. Their patience was over. On Earth, the military prepared for orders that everyone knew were coming. Troops were mobilized. Humanity had tried peace. Now they were preparing for war. The council tried to control the damage, held a press conference claiming the evidence was taken out of context. He promised a full investigation. No one believed him. Discovered more evidence buried in the system. She released it to every news network in the galaxy. More council members implicated. More species shown to be complicit. The conspiracy went deeper than anyone had imagined. The council began to fracture. Some species supported humanity's demands. Others saw it as a dangerous precedent. If humans could threaten the council and get what they wanted, what would stop other species from doing the same? Made his own broadcast, he everything, called a liar, accused humanity of fabricating evidence to gain power. Humans should remember their place, he said. His silver scales caught the light as he spoke. There are far more dangerous truths in this galaxy than the ones you think you have uncovered. Push too hard, and you might find yourselves facing consequences you cannot imagine. Watched the broadcast alone in his office. It was a threat, not even subtle. That night, as worked late reviewing response strategies, his aide Peter Davis brought him coffee. Peter had served with for 2 years. A good man, loyal, efficient. The coffee tasted bitter but barely noticed. He was focused on the communications pouring in from Earth. The government wanted options. The military wanted targets. Everyone wanted action. Peter left the office, took another sip of coffee. 10 minutes later, the room started spinning, tried to stand and fell. His hands shook, his vision blurred. He reached for the emergency alert, but his fingers would not work right. The door burst open. Brandon and rushed in. They had been coming to brief on new intelligence. Instead, they found him on the floor, convulsing. Poison, Brandon said immediately. He had seen it before in combat zones. Get medical here now. The doctor saved life, but it was close. The poison was sophisticated, alien in origin, designed to look like a heart attack. Peter Davis was found dead in his quarters 2 hours later, apparent suicide, but Brandon had seen the body. The man had been killed before he could talk. Woke up in the medical bay, with Brandon sitting beside him. Someone tried to kill you, Brandon said. We have the coffee analyzed. Poison, expensive, hard to get. Whoever did this had resources. Peter asked, his voice rough. Dead. They got to him first. We will probably never know if he was working with them or if they used him. Stared at the ceiling. They had tried to kill him. The council, or someone working for them, had decided that murdering a human ambassador was acceptable. I am tired of being patient, said. So is everyone else. Brandon pulled up a screen showing communications from Earth. You have been unconscious for 8 hours. In that time, Earth has authorized military action if the Council does not meet your demands. Fleet Admiral Hayes is assembling the largest battle group humanity has ever put together. They are waiting for your order. Thought about the 4,000 humans still missing, about Sister and her children, about Peter Davis, who died because someone wanted silenced. He thought about 3 years of being ignored, dismissed, and patronized by species who thought humanity was too young and too weak to matter. How long until the 30 days are up? Asked. 29 days, 14 hours. Then the council still has time to do the right thing. But both men knew the truth. The council was not going to give them justice. They were going to stall and delay and hope the problem went away. Over the next weeks, watched the council play its games. Emergency meetings that accomplished nothing, investigation committees that moved at glacial pace, public statements promising action while privately doing nothing. The Empire refused to even acknowledge the accusations, gave speeches about human aggression and paranoia. 2 more human ships disappeared during the 30 days. This time, received messages from the families, parents begging him to bring their children home, spouses asking where their loved ones had gone. Each message made his resolve stronger. On day 29, the council met to discuss humanity's ultimatum, sat in the chamber and listened to them debate. Some wanted to negotiate. Others wanted to censure humanity for threatening the council. A very few, said humanity was right to demand action. After 6 hours of debate, the council voted. The result was exactly what expected. They would form another committee to study the situation. They would review the evidence again. They would consider humanity's demands and provide a formal response within 6 months. 6 months while humans died. Stood up, he did not wait to be recognized. He did not ask permission to speak. Humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council, he said, effective immediately. The chamber went silent. All human ambassadors will leave Council space within 24 hours. Any attempt to stop us will be considered an act of war. The Council had 30 days to prove it cared about justice. You failed. Now you will see what happens when humanity stops asking for permission. He walked out of the chamber. Behind him, the Council erupted in chaos, but did not look back. He had one message to send. He contacted Hayes on a secure channel. Admiral said, "You are authorized to proceed. Bring our people home." The countdown was over. Now came the reckoning. Fleet Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the Independence and watched humanity's military might gather around him. 67 warships, more than had ever been assembled in one place. The Council thought humans were a small military power. They thought humanity's Tier 3 status reflected military weakness. The Council was about to learn how wrong they were. Had spent 30 years in military service. He had fought in the early conflicts when humanity first left Earth. He had defended colonies from pirates and raiders. He knew how to fight. More importantly, he knew when to fight. This was that time. "Status report," he ordered. Captain looked up from his station. "All ships report ready, weapons charged, engines at full capacity. We are waiting on your command, sir." Studied the tactical display. Brandon's intelligence had identified 47 locations where humans were being held. Some were obvious, facilities in their outer territories. Others were hidden, private installations owned by wealthy collectors, research stations operated by council species. "We start with the closest targets," said. "Fast strikes. Get in, get our people, get out. We are not here to conquer, we are here to rescue." "And if they fight back?" asked. "Then we show them what human weapons can really do." The first target was a slaving station 3 days from Council space. Intelligence said it held over 200 human captives. The station was lightly defended. They did not expect anyone to attack. They were wrong. Fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel right on top of the station. Before they could even send a distress signal, human ships had disabled their communications and weapons. "Boarding teams go," ordered. Combat shuttles launched from the Independence. Special forces teams that had trained for exactly this kind of operation. Fast, precise, overwhelming. The guards never had a chance. Human soldiers moved through the station like a storm. Every guard was neutralized. Every system was locked down. Within 20 minutes, the station was secured. Watched the video feeds from the boarding teams. They found humans in cages. Some were injured. Many were sick. All of them looked terrified until they saw the human soldiers. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Mills led the first team to the holding cells. She cut through the locks and opened the doors. "You are safe now," she told them. "We are taking you home." One woman collapsed crying. A man grabbed Sarah's hand and would not let go. Children stared with wide eyes at the soldiers in black armor. "We found them, Admiral," Sarah reported. 214 humans. Some need immediate medical attention, but they are all alive. "Get them on the transports," ordered. "Prepare to move to the next target." As the rescued humans were loaded onto medical ships, recorded everything. Every face, every reunion, every moment of relief and joy. He sent the footage to every news network in the galaxy. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer asking for help. They were taking action. The second target was harder. A research facility operated by a consortium. According to Brandon's intelligence, this was where Sister was being held. Himself was on the assault ship, had tried to keep him back but had pulled rank. As a senior, he had the authority to join any mission involving alien contact. "I am finding my sister," had said. That was the end of the discussion. The facility was more heavily defended than the slaving station. Automated weapons, shield generators, military-grade security. Ships made short work of it. Human weapons technology was far more advanced than the Council knew. Humanity had spent 3 years studying galactic technology, learning, improving. Then they had gone further, developing systems the Council had never imagined. The shields fell in minutes. The weapons were disabled. The facility was breached. Ran through the corridors with the assault team. He had seen the facility layouts. He knew where they kept the test subjects. He found in a cell that looked more like a laboratory. She was thin. Her hair had been cut short. Monitoring equipment was attached to her body. When she saw, she did not believe it at first. Her voice was weak. "Is this real?" He pulled the monitoring equipment off her and lifted her into his arms. "You are coming home. I promise you are coming home." "My kids, they took my kids." "We know where they are," said. "We are getting everyone back." The scientists were captured and secured, had orders to take prisoners when possible. These beings would stand trial for what they did. Over the next week, fleet hit target after target. Each victory was broadcast across the galaxy. Each group of rescued humans was documented and celebrated. The Council watched in growing alarm. Human military capability was far beyond what they had estimated. The weapons were more advanced. The tactics were more sophisticated. The coordination was flawless. High Counselor called an emergency session. "The humans are conducting military operations in sovereign space. This is an act of war." "Against who?" Ambassador or of the Aquarius Coalition asked. "They are rescuing their own people from illegal slavery operations. Are you suggesting we defend slavers?" "They are destabilizing the entire region," argued. "Human aggression must be stopped." "Maybe if the Council had acted when they should have, humanity would not need to act now," another delegate said. The Council was fracturing. Some species saw humanity's actions as justified. Others feared the precedent. If a Tier 3 species could challenge the Council with military force, what did that mean for galactic order? Did not care about galactic order. He cared about the mission. On day 8, his fleet intercepted a convoy. According to intelligence, the convoy was transporting humans to private buyers. This was not a rescue mission. This was catching them in the act. Commanded the intercept. 6 human warships against a dozen escorts. The battle was over in minutes. Human ships moved with precision that could not match. Weapons fire was surgical, disabling engines and shields without destroying the ships. They tried to fight back, but their weapons seemed to pass through empty space where human ships had been moments before. "Convoy disabled," reported. "No human casualties, minimum casualties, they are surrendering." Boarding teams found over 300 human captives in the convoy. They also found something more valuable: records, communication logs, transaction histories. Carter, working from a command ship, analyzed the data. What she found made her call immediately. "Admiral, you need to see this." The convoy was authorized by Council security codes. These are not just operating on their own. This operation had official sanction. Read the files. 5 Council species were directly involved in the trafficking network, not just looking the other way, actively participating, providing security, offering facilities, taking profits. "Send it to," ordered. "Let the galaxy see how deep this goes." Release the evidence immediately. More Council members exposed. More species implicated. The beautiful facade of galactic civilization was crumbling with each revelation. Protests erupted on Council worlds. Not just human protests anymore. Other species were demanding answers. Young species who had trusted the Council, who had believed in galactic justice. All of them now wondering what other crimes had been hidden. Made one final attempt to rally support. He broadcast a call to arms against human aggression. He painted humanity as dangerous barbarians threatening peaceful space. 3 species answered his call, 3 out of hundreds. Received intelligence that a coalition fleet was forming to stop human operations. 15 warships from and forces. They were moving to intercept's fleet at the next target. "They want to fight," said. "Should we avoid them?" Looked at the tactical display. The next target was a facility holding over 500 humans, including niece and nephew, children. "We are not avoiding anything," said. "Prepare for combat, and make sure every camera in the galaxy is watching." The 2 fleets met near a planetary system that had been neutral territory for centuries. The coalition forces had superior numbers, 15 ships against 10. They positioned themselves between the human fleet and the target facility. "Human fleet, this is Coalition Commander. You are ordered to withdraw immediately or face destruction." Opened a channel. Coalition forces, this is Fleet Admiral Hayes. You are defending a facility where humans are being held against their will. You are defending slavers and torturers. If you do not stand down, we will go through you. You do not have the strength, replied. Then let me show you what strength looks like. The battle that followed would be analyzed by military historians for generations. Human ships moved like they were dancing. Weapons fire that should have connected passed through spaces where ships had been. Coalition vessels found their targeting systems disrupted by electronic warfare they could not counter. Dr. Christina Palmer had developed the new systems, electronic warfare that made human ships nearly impossible to target, weapons that could penetrate shields the Council thought were impenetrable, engine technology that gave human vessels speed and maneuverability no other species could match. For 3 years, humanity had been playing weak, learning, preparing, waiting for the moment when they would need to show their true capability. This was that moment. Coalition ships fell one by one, not destroyed, disabled, weapons systems taken offline, engines neutralized, shields collapsed. Each ship was left drifting but intact. Would not make martyrs of them. He would make examples. When the battle ended, all 15 coalition ships were floating dead in space. 0 human casualties, minimum enemy deaths. This is Fleet Admiral Hayes to all coalition forces. You defended slavery and torture. You chose the wrong side. Now watch what happens next. Human ships moved past the defeated fleet toward the facility. The assault took 30 minutes. 543 humans were rescued. Among them were 2 children, a girl aged 7, a boy aged 5. They were scared and confused and did not remember much about their family. Met them at the transport bay. Was with him, still recovering but insisting on being there. These are your children, the medic told gently. They might not remember you right away, the trauma. Did not care, she dropped to her knees and held out her arms. Emma, Jacob, it is Mom, I am here. I am so sorry I could not protect you, but I am here now. The little girl looked at her. Something in her eyes changed. Recognition, memory, hope. Mommy, Emma whispered. Then both children were in arms, crying and holding on like they would never let go. Watched his sister reunite with her family and felt something break inside him. Relief, joy, rage at what they had been through, all of it at once. Stood on the bridge and watched the rescue footage. Then he opened a channel to every council world. This is what you allowed to happen, he said. These children were taken from their mother, sold, abused, and your council knew. For 18 months they knew. They chose profit over justice, politics over morality. Now you see the cost of their choices. He paused, letting the image of holding her children fill screens across the galaxy. Humanity gave the Council 30 days to act. They refused. So now we act. We will find every human who was taken. We will rescue them. And anyone who stands in our way will face the same fate as that fleet drifting behind me. This is not aggression. This is justice, and it is just beginning. The Council met in emergency session that night. The vote was close, but the result was clear. The Council leadership was forced to resign, all of them, every member implicated in the conspiracy. The galaxy had watched humanity fight for its people. Now it watched the mighty Council fall apart. Received new orders from. The next target was the biggest yet. A fortress world where intelligence suggested hundreds more humans were held. Prepare the fleet, ordered. We are going in hard, and we are going to make sure the entire galaxy understands something very important. What is that, sir? Asked. That humanity protects its own, always, and anyone who forgets that will answer to us. Fortress world of had never been attacked. It sat deep in space, protected by defense stations and patrol fleets. They considered it invulnerable. They kept their most valuable assets there, including hundreds of captives from dozens of species. Fleet Admiral Hayes looked at the tactical display and smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "All ships report ready," Captain said. "We have 42 warships in position. They have 60 ships defending the system plus orbital weapons platforms." "Good," said. "They should have brought more." The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Every sensor in space lit up with warnings. The largest human military force ever assembled had just appeared at their doorstep. The fleet moved to intercept, 60 warships against 42. On paper, they had the advantage. On paper meant nothing. Ships moved in coordinated groups. Dr. Christina Palmer's new weapon systems tore through shields like they were not there. Electronic warfare systems made it impossible for ships to target effectively. Human vessels danced through defensive fire that should have destroyed them. The battle was broadcast live across the galaxy. Billions watched as humanity systematically dismantled a fleet that had kept the Empire safe for centuries. But was not trying to destroy the fleet. He was showing them something more important. He was showing them they could not win. Commanders who had fought for decades found themselves helpless. Their weapons missed. Their shields failed. Their tactical systems were disrupted. And through it all, human ships moved closer. After 2 hours, half the fleet was disabled. The rest retreated to the planet's orbital platforms. "This is Fleet Admiral Hayes to command. You have 2 options. Surrender the captives peacefully or watch us take them by force. Either way, they are coming home." The commander chose force. Human assault teams hit the planet from 6 different directions. Special forces that had trained for this mission specifically. They moved through defenses like ghosts. Every resistance point was neutralized. Every security system was cracked. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Mills led her team into the largest facility. They found row after row of cells. Humans, civilians, Aquarian scholars, species from across the galaxy, all taken by raiders while the Council looked away. "Get them out," Sarah ordered, "all of them." Her team worked quickly, opening cells, providing medical care, guiding captives to transport ships. The operation was smooth because humanity had practiced it dozens of times now. But Sarah found something else too: records, files showing the full scope of the operation. They had not just raided human ships, they had been taking people from multiple species for over a decade. The Council had known. They had known about all of it. Carter received the files on the command ship and started analyzing immediately. What she found made her call directly. Had returned to Earth after withdrawing from the Council, but he was far from done. He stood in a command center watching the assault on in real time. "Ambassador, you need to see this," said. "The kept records of everything, every raid, every captive, every species involved. And there are Council meeting minutes going back 15 years discussing how to manage the situation." Read the files. His expression never changed, but those who knew him saw the cold fury in his eyes. "Send it to every news network," said. "All of it. Let the galaxy see exactly what their leaders have been doing." The evidence flooded across every communication network. Not just what happened to humans, what happened to dozens of species. Young civilizations that joined the Council looking for protection and found exploitation instead. The reaction was immediate and explosive. On Aquarius Prime, millions gathered in the capital demanding their government withdraw from the Council. On III, riots broke out when people learned their leaders had known about the raids and done nothing. Across hundreds of worlds, the same pattern repeated. The Council had betrayed everyone, not just humanity, everyone. Back on, the rescue operation continued. Teams found over 800 captives in various facilities. Some were in relatively good condition. Others showed signs of abuse that would take years to heal from. Price was among the rescue teams. After reuniting with his sister and helping her recover, he had volunteered to help rescue others. He understood their trauma. He knew what they needed to hear. He found a group of children huddled in a cell. Human, Aquarian, and kids together. They looked at the soldiers with fear until removed his helmet. "My name is," he said gently. "We are here to take you home. Your families are waiting for you." One little boy, human, maybe 6 years old, looked up with wide eyes. "Are you really human, like us?" "Yes," said, "and we came a very long way to find you. Every human on those ships out there volunteered for this mission, because we do not leave our people behind. Ever." The children started crying, not from fear anymore, from relief, from hope, from the knowledge that someone had come for them. As the last captives were loaded onto transport ships, gave the order: disable the orbital platforms, destroy the slave facilities, leave nothing for them to rebuild. Human ships methodically took apart infrastructure, not civilian targets, not innocent installations, just the facilities used for trafficking and torture. When they were done, would remember what happened when you took humans captive. The government sent a desperate message to the council. They demanded intervention. They claimed humanity was committing acts of war. The council could not help them, because the council no longer existed in its old form. 3 days after fleet attacked, the Galactic Council held an emergency vote. Species after species voted to disband the old leadership structure. The corruption ran too deep. The betrayal was too complete. High Counselor tried to maintain his position. He gave speeches about stability and order. He warned that allowing humanity's actions to go unpunished would lead to chaos. No one listened. Was removed from office and placed under arrest. So were 12 other council members directly implicated in the trafficking conspiracy. They would stand trial for crimes against sentient beings. The council reformed under new leadership. Species that had been silent before now demanded equal representation. The old tier system was abolished. Every species, regardless of age or size, would have equal voice. And humanity was offered a position on the new council leadership. Stood before the reformed council 3 weeks after the assault on. The chamber looked the same, but everything had changed. New delegates, new rules, new accountability. Ambassador, the new council leader said. She was Aquarian, from a species that had lost hundreds of people to the trafficking networks. "On behalf of this council, we apologize for what was done. To your people, to all the victims, we failed in our most basic duty." Nodded. Apologies are a start, but apologies do not bring back the dead. They do not heal the trauma. What matters now is what you do next. "We want humanity to help lead that change," she said. "Your actions showed us what real justice looks like, what real courage looks like. The galaxy needs that." Looked around the chamber. New faces. Some species that had supported humanity, others that had been silent, a few that had opposed them but now seemed humbled. "Humanity will join this council," said, "but understand something. We did not fight to gain power. We fought because our people were dying and no one would help us. We fight for justice, not for control." He paused, making sure they understood. "If this council ever again chooses political convenience over doing what is right, humanity will not wait 30 days next time. We will act immediately, and we will not stop until justice is done. That is our promise to the galaxy." The council accepted those terms. They had no choice. They had seen what humanity could do when pushed. They had watched human fleets dismantle defenses that were supposed to be unbreakable. They had seen human determination and human fury. They did not want to see it again. Over the next months, trials were held. Officials, council members, private citizens who had profited from trafficking, all of them faced justice. Some were sentenced to prison. Others were stripped of their positions and wealth. A few, those whose crimes were worst, faced execution according to their own species' laws. Hayes became the commander of a new galactic security force, one designed to protect all species from exploitation. He chose his staff carefully, people who understood that power had to be balanced with accountability. Brandon joined him. So did Sarah Mills, and they built a force that would respond to threats quickly, without waiting for political approval that might never come. Price returned to his work but he also helped establish counseling services for trafficking survivors. He knew the trauma did not end when the rescue did. His sister worked with him, using her own experience to help others heal. Carter became the head of Galactic Intelligence Oversight. Her job was to make sure no one ever again buried evidence the way the old council had. Every investigation would be transparent. Every finding would be public. Tours continued flying, now leading training programs to help other species develop better rescue capabilities. She made sure that what humanity had learned would be shared. 1 year after the council reformed, they held a memorial service for all the victims, the ones rescued and the ones who did not survive. Stood before a monument on Earth. It listed every name, every human who had been taken, 847 from the Meridian, thousands more from other ships. The list was long. "We do not forget," said to the crowd gathered for the service. "We remember every name, every person who was taken, every family that was broken." He looked at the monument, thinking about the journey that had brought them here. The council tried to bury the truth. They thought we would accept their lies. They thought our patience meant we were weak. His voice grew stronger. They learned the hard way that human patience is not weakness, it is strategy. We watched, we learned, we prepared, and when they pushed us too far, we showed them who we really are. The crowd was silent, listening. We are not conquerors. We are not warriors seeking glory. We are people who protect our own, people who fight for justice when no one else will, people who remember. He gestured to the monument. These names represent lives, families, dreams. They were taken because someone thought humans were too weak to fight back, because someone thought profit was more important than people, because someone thought they could hide the truth forever. His expression hardened. They were wrong. Truth does not stay buried, not when humans are digging. And once we found it, we made sure the whole galaxy saw what had been done in the dark. He looked out at the crowd, humans who had fought for this, who had risked everything to bring their people home. We gave the council a chance to do the right thing, 30 days to show they cared about justice. They failed that test, so we acted, and in acting we changed the galaxy forever. His voice softened. To those we lost, we promise we will never forget. To those we saved, we promise you are home and safe. To the galaxy, we promise that humanity will always stand for justice, always fight for the innocent, always refuse to look away when people suffer. He raised his hand in salute to the monument. We are human, we remember, we protect our own, and heaven help anyone who forgets that. The crowd echoed his words. It became a promise, a warning, a statement of who humanity was and would always be. Later that day, received a message. It was from the unknown source that had sent him the original coordinates, the one who had started everything by giving him proof of what was happening. The message was simple. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for fighting when others would not. The galaxy is better because humans refuse to accept injustice. Remember this moment. Remember what you accomplished. And never let them forget what happens when truth meets courage. The message deleted itself. Never found out who sent it, but he did not need to know. What mattered was that someone had trusted humanity to do the right thing. And humanity had not let them down. 2 years after the assault a new colony ship prepared to launch from Earth. It was heading to New Terra, the colony the Meridian had been meant to establish. The ship was named the Meridian II, in honor of those who had been taken, in memory of the 847 who had started this journey. But this time things were different. The colony ship did not travel alone. A full human battle group escorted it, and council ships joined them, providing protection and support. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humans were not to be dismissed. Their patience was not weakness. Their kindness was not softness. Humanity had shown the council their rage. They had torn apart fleets. They had exposed corruption. They had forced accountability. But more importantly, they had shown mercy. They had rescued victims from multiple species. They had fought for justice, not conquest. They had proven that strength was not about how much destruction you could cause, but about how many people you could save. The Meridian II launched with full ceremony. Families who had waited years to start their new lives. Children who would grow up knowing that humanity had fought for their right to be safe. Watch the launch from Earth. Brandon stood beside him. "We did it," Brandon said quietly. "We actually did it." "We did," agreed. "But the work is not over, it never is." "No," Brandon said. "But now when threats arise, we know we can face them, together, without waiting for permission from people who do not care." Nodded, he thought about the past 3 years, the frustration, the anger, the moment when patience ran out and action became necessary. "The council buried the truth and hoped we would never find it," said. "They forgot something important about humans." "What is that?" Smiled. It was a genuine smile this time, not the cold diplomatic smile he had worn for so long. "We are very good at digging, and once we find the truth, we make sure everyone sees it, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how powerful the people trying to hide it." High above, the Meridian II disappeared into faster-than-light travel, heading to a new world, a new beginning. The galaxy had changed, the council was reformed, justice was restored. And humanity had proven something that would never be forgotten. They protected their own, always, without exception, without hesitation. And anyone who forgot that would face humanity's rage. But this time, that rage came with something the old council had never offered: truth, justice, and the courage to fight for both.